Hey guys, how you doing? This is jpsarrireviews coming to you once again with another episode of Age of Heroes, my podcast. And today we are celebrating, of course, here in the U.S., Memorial Day. For those that are outside of the U.S. and are not familiar with Memorial Day, let me pretty much tell you exactly what it is. It's a federal holiday. It's a celebration. We commemorate, we remember all the fallen soldiers, all the fallen heroes, all the people that have given their lives for the safekeeping of this nation, of our country. It is a celebration that we really enjoy. Many American families. We travel throughout this. This is the beginning, really, also from the summer vacation. So a lot of people travel, go to the beach, go camping, go to enjoy time with the families, also to remember those people that have, given their lives for our freedom. And in a country, we have a country where there's a lot of people that have been part of the military, all families. They have a member in the military. They have been in the military. In my family, we also have members in the military. People have been in the military. So we remember, wars have been affected all of us in one way, shape, or form. So we celebrate, we remember their sacrifices, and we thank them for what they have done for us. So to all of them, through all the different wars that this country has been part of, and all the people that have defended our freedom, are the right for us to celebrate and to enjoy life and to have the freedoms, even for me, to have the freedom of being here in front of this camera and be able to share with you on YouTube, and also for this wave sounds to go through the different podcast stations and be able to express myself, and it's because of them. So we thank them for that, and that's what we celebrate today. But now, of course, today I want to have fun because of that as well. It's a day where, to commemorate, to celebrate, to have fun for the family. Throughout the weekend, of course, people have been having fun with the family. People enjoy this time. But I want to share some stories. Maybe you're home. Maybe you have nothing to do today, and you're looking for something to read, maybe something to do, and you don't know what to do. Maybe play video games, maybe do this. Maybe reading is something you've been thinking about. Maybe reading some comics. So I want to share today 12 stories, 12 comic stories. Some of them are very well known, some are not, and stories that I recommend. They're not heavy read. They're very easy digest. They're digestible stories. They're actually they're commemorate not only heroes and people that have given their lives, commemorate the different wars that we've been part of, but also, most importantly, commemorate the American way of life. And I think those are the stories. They celebrate Americana. They celebrate America as a whole, and stories that celebrate the values of America through these heroes, through the lens of these stories. And I want to recommend them to you. Each one of them, they're very, in my opinion, they're very important. So I want to start actually from, in this case, from the oldest to the newest, so that way we can have some timeline. And I want to start with the first recommendation for Memorial Day. I will recommend you to read The Rocketeer, The Complete Adventures. Now, this was originally published back in 1982. Maybe you're familiar with that. Maybe you have watched the film, the 1991 film. That it is a cult classic in many ways. I like it. A lot of people didn't like it, but I like it. But the Rocketeer, created by Dave Stevens, is definitely a great celebration of America. It has the classic look, it celebrates classic cinematography, classic films of Hollywood. It's all Americana. It's very cheeky. It's very nice. There's a new recolor version created by IDW. They have the complete adventures. They put all together into one nice package. You can have it on digital. You can have it on softcover, hardcover. Very nice absolute edition, very nice edition. There's so many different editions, and I have the links for all the stories down below for those that are interested. I highly recommend it. If you haven't not read The Rocketeer, it's a celebration of all America. It's, of course, Rocketeer fighting against Nazis, so it's very cool. It's a very cool story, very nice. The art is beautiful. Rocketeer's girlfriend she's hot and beautiful, so all of that is a celebration of America, and I highly recommend it. The next one I would recommend you is The Power of Shazam. Shazam was in this case a graphic novel back in 1994. Now we just celebrated, of course. We watched the movie. Shazam movie was a hit. I definitely enjoyed that film, even with all the things that I wasn't crazy about of the film. I think it was a great film. But when you think about Shazam, of course, you consider one of the classic characters, classic heroes in pretty much in comics from the back in the 30s and 40s, the late 30s and 40s. And of course, Shazam was a great, in this case, a great character. But now he was introduced back in the 80s. The introduction was okay, but the follow-up in 1994, the graphic novel by Jerry Orway, it was phenomenal. He painted. It's not a big story, but it's classic Americana story. It's a beautiful art, well created. It's not, of course, about veterans, but it's something so beautifully. It reminds you of the Rocketeer in that way. It's beautiful. The colors are beautiful. He painted this stuff. Very classic story. Reminds you of Indiana Jones. It's a great introduction of the character. And of course, after that, the following year, 1995, there was a monthly series that started because of the success of this graphic novel. And also written by Jerry Orway with the art of Peter Cross, Mike Manley, Dick Giordano. There were another artists that were part of the series. It was a phenomenal, definitely a celebration of Americana, classic storytelling, classic comic book storytelling. Very beautiful art. Definitely, I highly recommend it. Now, the next one in this list, I like this one, and a lot of people never really talk about it. And this is Superman for All Seasons. Was pretty much published back in 1998, created by Jeff Loeb and the art by Tim Sale. I could tell you one thing. After, of course, the Long Halloween was a great story from Batman. In that success, of course, Jeff Loeb was given the green light to create a story for Superman, and he developed what I consider one of the best Superman stories of all times. Many people don't talk much about it, but it's a limited series. It's only 4 issues, but each issue is kind of like in a season. You have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And it's a different perspective. Somebody is speaking, talking the life, pretty much telling the story from the perspective of different characters in the life of Superman. The first one, of course, spring, is Jonathan Kent, the father, the pa of, Superman, Clark Kent. And definitely it's a great story. I love that one. It's definitely good because it's the story of Superman, how he evolves and becomes who he is. And it really the challenge that he's going. Of course, he's facing challenges as a young kid, as a younger version of Superman. Then you got Lois Lane, who is when the time that he moved to become a reporter in Metropolis. Then you got Lex Luthor, who is the fall, interesting one, Lane. So you can see the challenge. It's definitely a story that talks about finding your place in the world. But most importantly, what I really enjoy about this comic story is that it's a celebration also of the Americana. It really recognizes and understands what Superman is and the values of Superman, the heroics of Superman, and how we as Americans, we can connect and relate to that. It's definitely a great story. I consider it one of the greatest, even greater than All-Star Superman in my opinion, because it really recognizes Superman, celebrates Superman. And another part of the story is that in the first one, this case, the spring part, with Jonathan Kent is talking about his son. It's also it's retrospective because technically in that moment, of course, Loeb, he's talking to his son, who happens to die a few years later of cancer, was battling cancer then, his young son. So definitely it's very personal, very intimate, and it's a great story that really reminds us of the value and the sacrifices and life, what American lives means, and for us, what truly means to be American in one sense. And definitely you can feel it through that story. Definitely I enjoy it. I highly recommend it. Next one on the list, and this is going to be a bit more militaristic, and I really enjoy it. And it's one that a lot of people do not know, and this is The Last Day in Vietnam, who was written by, in this case, by the great Will Eisner. And Will Eisner is a legend in the comics. It kind of followed The Last Day in Vietnam. It was published back in 2000 by Dark Horse Comics, and it's a very small book. It's not really much to it. There's a forward introduction by Matt Fraction, definitely very nice introduction. But what I like about Last Day in Vietnam is pretty much retrospective. You know, the images of the war. Some people might consider it to be a bit critical of the war. You know, like a propaganda against the war. But we're talking about Will Eisner. He was a part of the military. He fought in World War II. He also he was part of the Army Motor, so he was creating art. In this case, pamphlets to pretty much to instruct the soldiers into how to do certain things and procedures and different things in the military. And then, of course, he was part in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. He was part of the PS, the Preventive Maintenance Monthly. He was part of the publishers, one of the creators of the art. He worked for the military. He created all these pamphlets. Beautiful stuff from Will Eisner. Now, Last Day in Vietnam is kind of a retrospective view of what he experienced in the Vietnam War, but also the Korean War, and pretty much the images of the people. It's really a vision of what people go through in the war, and the images of real heroes. You know, through all, we talk about heroes, we glamorize heroes, but this is a retrospective view of the heroes, of the normal people that go to war and their challenges, and what pretty much the horrors of war, but also the hopes of war, and the desires of war, and every person that participates in war, and ultimately the sacrifices they make. And definitely it's a very interesting story. It maybe not for everyone, but the art of Will Eisner is marvelous. It's very cartoony. Of course, it's like, you're reading like pretty much the comics, and in this case the comic strips in the newspapers, and but it's all done so beautifully arranged, and the art is so in this case, even though it's like that, even though there's no walls, it's very cinematic in itself, because it's a story, and that's something about Will Eisner, and it started with the Contract with God. He knows how to tell a story through these images, and definitely he does very, very good, and I love it. I highly recommend this story to anyone. Now, following the next one, and this is a one that probably already know, and most people know, and you should read, DC The New Frontier 2004. Now, 6 issue limited series. What I love about this is it's definitely it's a remembrance. It's pretty much pays homage to Americana. Not only that, he pays homage to great characters of heroes throughout the golden age, in this case the Silver Age of comics, like the Challenge of the Unknown, characters like Adam Strange, the Losers, the Black Hawk Squadron, who is part also from actually prior to that, in the Golden Age. All these characters that were created, that were important, and they're an intrinsic part of comics and in the creation of comics. He does that. Of course, the Justice League is pretty much just plays homage to the American way, and I love it. It's very classic in that, and it's a great story that is anyone needs to read. Dalton Cook, who I talked in a recent podcast about his legacy. I definitely he really cook a story that is timeless, and definitely a vision of America that in many ways is long gone, but it's still there. We can still embrace, even through the pains of this, pretty much the world we live in, and sometimes we feel that American has lost its way, but it's there. The principles, the desires, the ambitions of America and American people, I feel that it's there, and it really embraces the American way, and I really enjoy that. It's definitely a one that I recommend, and there's not much really to say about it. You need to read it. Now, next one on this list, I'm going to go for Captain America Winter Soldier. And when you think about the Memorial Day, when you think about heroes, people that have given their lives, you have to think about Captain America. And there's so many stories to Captain America to count on this list. I can go through many of them, but I'm going to go with one that I consider modern, but also one of the best. And this is that was printed between 2004 2016, particularly the original, the first 14 issues. In the volume, what is now volume 1, volume 2, you can get them that way, and it goes really fast. But also there, Captain America is looking at the past, looking at the sacrifices he has made as a soldier, and he's trying to find his way and trying to save his friend Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. But you also have he remembers. He also mentioned Spirit of 76, the Invaders, the Patriots, all these heroes that have gone from the Golden Age to the Silver Age, all these different heroes. It's a vision of America. And also, you have, pretty much Shield. You got Sergeant Fury, who is part of the, the Howling Commandos. All the Howling Commandos are not part of in that particular run, but definitely all of this is remembering that the past and also the sacrifices that have been made. And definitely it's a great story, a very American in its way. Captain America is I would say the biggest American hero we can have. You can count Superman on that, but for so many, Captain America really represents the values of American sacrifice, and definitely it's and also of our veterans and people that have fought for our freedom. So definitely it's one that is highly recommended. Even though it's 14 issues, it's a fast read. You can go through it very quick, and it's recommended. Now I'm going to move to another one. Still with Marvel, I'm going to go to the 12, which is a 12-issue miniseries that a lot of people do not know, but it's very good and fun. It was printed between 2007 and 2008. Now the 12, it really talks about 12 obscure superheroes of the greatest generation of the timely comics, the golden age of comics. You have the original Black Widow, Blue Blade, Captain Wonder, Dynamic Man, Electro, Fury Mask. You have so many, Excello, Mr. E, Phantom Reporter, Rockman, Witness. I'm reading some of them because of course there are many, but I enjoyed the story. Some people say that it's even as comparable as I would say to the Watchman, which I'm gonna tell you that it is not. It's not as comparable, but it's a very mature story, very well written. It was created by Straczynski and the artist by Chris Weston, and definitely I love this story. It's good. It really shows the case, something that happens after the end of World War II. All these heroes going into a bunker and they get trapped and they get into some type of they get frozen in some type of gas chamber thing, and of course they get trapped until they found years later, pretty much modern times, and now they have to come to grips to a new world. And in this new world they have to adapt. They are part of the military, but they trying to adapt into the American way. They know a different American way, their way where they grew up. Now America has changed. There's different values, different things, so they have to cope with that and deal with that. And in the middle of that, there is a crime. One of them gets murdered, and of course trying to discover who is the one behind the whole thing. So definitely it's a phenomenal story. 12 issues, they go pretty good. It really encompasses a lot. The art is good, the story is good, and definitely I highly recommend it. The 12 really is a recommendation for Memorial Day. Now next one on the list, I'm gonna go for this one, Lobster Johnson. And particularly the first in this case run, the Iron Prometheus, was printed back in 2007. Now it is a 5-issue limited series. Now the Lobster Johnson, it's known from, of course, Hellboy. You probably, he mentioned it even on the first issue of Hellboy, creation of Mike Mignola. Now, Lobster Johnson is a great hero of back in the day, of course, and of course is the hero of Hellboy. He loves him as a hero. And of course, in this story, in 2007, we see his first story. Now he has his first run, and we need to see what's going on. Of course, he's fighting Nazis, and of course, it has the Mike Mignola feel. And the art is by Jason Armstrong, and Dave Stewart did the colors, which are phenomenal. And definitely, it's very good. It's not as dark, I would say, the story as Mike Mignola's Hellboy. It's less dark, but it has some of the elements. So if you're looking for something in that end, he's finding Nazis, some paranormal stuff, and zombies and all that kind of stuff, then definitely Lobster Johnson is very fun. It's only five issues. Very nice run. I really recommend it. Anything, I think Lobster Johnson is good, but I think the first one was the better one, or was the introduction. If you need to understand Lobster Johnson, I think you need to read this one. So definitely highly recommend it. Now, I want to move to another also dark hero, and I'm gonna move to Atomic Robo, particularly when it was created back in 2007. Atomic Robo, I have fun with it. If you're looking for something for your children to read, and Atomic Robo is the one. This robot, pretty much Tesla, the created by Tesla, he is definitely fun. He is fighting Nazis, he's fighting all kind of machinery. He is a hero through and through. Through all the stories is there is some things that are it's easy to digest. He doesn't have a lot of bad stuff in it, or stuff that you might consider no suited for children. So definitely it's good, but definitely even for adults, it's fun read. Going through all these challenges. The art is good. It was created by Brian Clevenger. He's the writer of Atomic Robo, and they created Atomic Robo. But the original artist there was Scott Wegner, and Scott did a phenomenal job. The art is very good. It's very digestible. If you want to read it, it was published sometime. It was under the IDW, but now, of course, IDW is no longer publishing the digital part. You can still find it because it's Tesla Dean, which actually is the company of Brian Clevenger. They own the rights, so you can find them on Comixology. But you can also find the publishing. IDW did some of the soft covers collection that they had an omnibus when they had the 3 original stories. The first run, The Fighting Scientists of Tesla Dean, The Ducks of War, and The Shadow from Beyond Time. Those are the 3 main runs. So you can find them separately. I will recommend the first 2, The Fighting Scientists of Tesla Dean and The Ducks of War, because this is the one that he's fighting Nazis. So definitely it's a different time. He's fighting for America. He's defending the rights. He's fighting against the Axis. It's a very enjoyable experience. I definitely enjoy it. It's fun. It's quick read, and you'll have fun with it. And definitely another one that celebrates part of America. Now, the next one in this list, I'm going to go for more generic. I'm going to go with the G.I. Joe comics. Now published by IDW. The original run of G.I. Joe comics that was published back in 1982, between 1982 and 1984, a Real American Hero, that now is considered classic G.I. Joe under IDW, is phenomenal. There's 155 issues. The vast majority were written by Larry Hama and Herb Trimp, among many others. But Larry Hama did the vast majority of the stories. Classic stories, originally, of course, under Marvel, but definitely loved them. Now, if you want to go through 155 stories, it's going to be a long time. There's so many stories there. So if you want to start kind of fresh and instead of going to the classic route, if you want to start kind of new, I will say start with the stuff that happened under IDW, the new G.I. Joe that started in 2008. There's actually 27 issues. And also there's a issue number 0, and it was actually written by Chuck Dixon and Robert Atkins. I really enjoyed that reintroduction of the characters. Definitely the art is good, it's more modern, and the story was pretty good and clever. It's more mature in content, but it's still very, very good and very entertaining. Definitely, I love the stories. Chuck Dixon did a phenomenal job. Now, in 2009, between 2009 and 2011, there was another run that was running kind of on the same side with this run, with this G.I. Joe run. It was called G.I. Joe Origins, and also only had like 23 issues. But that one also was the return of Larry Hama as the writer, and Tom Feister and Mike Hathorne were doing the art, and of course the ink and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, I love this. The Origins is good. It's a bit more mature than the other one. There's a little more like things that happen, like blood and stuff, but it's still fun and entertaining. I really love the different art, the depiction of all these artists. It's definitely, if you have seen, IDW, they know how to break a lot of characters into many different storylines. And you have seen that, with the Transformers, you see that with pretty much Star Trek. They know how to do that, and definitely they did it here. I really love it. If you're going to go into the G.I. Joe, which definitely talk about heroes, American heroes, I think the 2008 G.I. Joe run and also the G.I. Joe Origins definitely are high recommendations. Definitely, they're good, and you should read them. They're fun, they're easy to digest, they're not hard to really follow. So definitely I enjoy it. Now, the next one in this list, also, I'm going to talk about in this case, the G.I. Joe, but it's going to be the Danger Girl crossover with the G.I. Joe, which published in 2012. Who doesn't love Danger Girl? Danger Girl is a great story. The J. Scott Campbell creation was definitely phenomenal. But I really love this 5-issue limited series by IDW. And in this case was written by Andy Hartnell, and the art by John Royal. And definitely is good. It's fun. It's very easy to digest. It's very quick. It's beautiful. Of course, Danger Girls and the G.I. Joe girls, they all come together, but also all this team, they're fighting Cobra and pretty much the world of Cobra and the enemies of Danger Girls. So definitely it's good. It's fun. And IDW have published this in a hardcover version, soft cover version. There's different versions. Definitely it's a high recommendation, easy to digest, fun. If you're looking for something quick to digest, something fun and geeky, but also talk about heroes, American heroes, definitely this is the one that you need to read. Now on this list, now going to my last recommendation. And this one may get a little bit of hate. Some people might not like it, but I do like All New Captain America. Was published between 2014 2015. The 6 issues, the volume 1, Hydra Ascendant. This is actually when, in this case, Sam Wilson, pretty much the Falcon, becomes the Captain America, and he takes the mantle of Captain America. This is the first run, written by Rick Remender, and Stuart Immonen does the art. But man, Stuart Immonen did a phenomenal job. The art is beautiful here. It's modern art, but it's well done. It is well done. The design, it moves very good. But what I like about Rick Remender in this one is that the story is good. A lot of people hate it, or would hate to have, they hate it just now with the movie. They don't like the fact that Sam Wilson is taking the mantle instead of the Winter Soldier, instead of Bucky Barnes. But definitely this one explores the idea of who, and this was before the movie, of why pretty much Sam Wilson is the right fit to carry the shield, because of what he stands for, when he believes as a soldier. But also it goes into retrospective. What I like about the issues is that every issue goes in retrospective, goes in like flashbacks into the past, his upbringing, he's dealing with his father, his situations, how he became who he became. He also goes back and remembered his first time when he met Captain America, and how he became friend with him, and things like that. So he's going through all that, and he's also he has a partner, which Nomad, who is actually Ian pretty much Rogers, so the adoptive son of Steve Rogers. So the story is interesting. If you're really on, you're going to see it, enjoy it. It's very quick, but also deals. Even the comic deal with the fact a lot of people didn't accept him because who he was. The reason why he was given the shield, because of course he was African American. So it deals with some of the racism aspects, and some of the issue in one issue, which it was very clever the way they did it. But definitely I love it. I really enjoy it. It definitely is good. He's helped, not only by Noma, but also by Misty Knight. So I really recommend it. It's one of those modern reads that actually are not bad. And I really recommend, and definitely it's fun and it's easy to digest, very quick. So now, of course, this is my list. I'm going to have the links for you down below. So if you want to go and purchase them, whether you're doing softcover, whether you're hardcover, whatever, I have the links for you. Pretty much the links to Amazon. But also, you can do it digitally if you want to start reading today. Definitely is the way to go. Really have fun with them. They're easy to digest, very quick, very fun. Some of them are thought-provoking in the right way, and they're not really like dense that you feel like you're gonna die because there's so much to read, or it's too complicated or too hard to read. So definitely I highly recommend it. Definitely remember this: every time you go through those links and you purchase anything, whether you purchase what is in the link or something else, you help this channel, you help my podcast. I get a kickback, and that supports my channel. So definitely it's another way that you can support it. So once again, thanks for watching. If you really like this list, let me know. If there's any other recommendations that you have, any other stories that you might recommend for this season. I was going through a big list, and I was going through so many stories, because there's so many stories from, you Captain America, Superman, Wonder Woman. When you think about so many heroes, there's so many stories in the Golden Age and the Silver Age, and I was thinking, I think I need to save this for a later time when I go more in depth with that. But I wanted to make recommendations to the stories that I consider that are great, that celebrate the American way, Americana, but all the way that we see the world, the way we express the world, but also that celebrate our heroes and celebrate, the people that have the real heroes, the true heroes, the ones that are not in the comic books, but also the ones that given their lives, soldiers and people that celebrate, that they represent America and the best of America in our military. So definitely, thank you for watching. Please leave your comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. If you're watching this on the different platforms, listening to this, please share that podcast with your friends. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All the links are down below. And again, consider supporting me financially, not only through either purchases through Amazon, but you also can do it on a monthly basis through Patreon, as a one-time gift through PayPal, and also through GoFundMe. And once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. God bless you. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.